So, not long ago, my family moved house, and look, I've got a couple of empty bookshelves to fill, and I wonder whose books I'm going to put in here. Stick around in this video for me filling these bookshelves and then giving you a tour of my entire Stephen King collection. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Dave Musson at Dave Musson on Instagram, and this is a place where I talk to you about all things Stephen King. Now usually I'm giving you 19 reasons to read each and every one of his books, but today is one of my specials, and I'm gonna get all my books on these shelves and then pick out some of my favourites from my collection for you, give you a proper bookshelf tour, which I know plenty of you have been asking for. But do click around the rest of my channel if you like what you see. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future. And while we're talking subscribing, you hit that link up there or the one down there, you can subscribe to my newsletter, and in that newsletter you'll get short stories from me, you'll get recommendations of indie horror authors to go and check out, and just for signing up you get an ebook version of my mini collection Mirrored plus 10 tiny tales of terror, and you get that for free just for signing up. So why not go and do that? Now, as I said, in this video I'm going to be taking you through my Stephen King book collection, picking out some of my favourites and giving you a proper bookshelf tour. But as you can see, the shelves are currently empty, so I think it's time for a banging soundtrack courtesy of my band and a time lapse. So 160 books and a few little extras later, there we go. The full collection is on the shelf. So what I'm going to do now is reposition the camera and take you through some of the things on here and give you that bookshelf tour. So for the top shelf, you're going to have to forgive the slightly shaky camera work because my tripod isn't tall enough. But let's have a look at what we've got here. So this edition of It is one I was after for ages and ages. Saw it all over Instagram and finally got one. There's a lovely bookmark here about Pennywise, but this is my rainbow collection in chronological order, not in rainbow order, because that is the correct way to do it. You can check out my rainbow video from last year where I do a deep dive on all of the covers, both editions of the Dead Zone, the pink one and the peachy one, the random skull that I got from Poundland, and more rainbow stuff here. And then as we move across, there are more rainbows here, again in chronological order of release. I'll come back to that. And there we go, more rainbows, including the elusive Black House. So just up here we've got Blood and Smoke, which is a cassette audiobook done to look like a box of smokes. And we've got Charlie the Choo Choo by Beryl Evans. Not sure who she is, but anyway, there's a blurb on it from some guy called Stephen King. If we take this next shelf down, so we've got a nice little Umni's Last Case, which I was very pleased to pick up. Don't let toddlers play with your Funkos, because that happens. Colorado Kid, alternative artwork. And then we've got sort of bigger rainbows here, the Doom McKee and the Go to Movies. And the only change in my rainbow collection since the video was that I now have all 3 copies of Lisa's Story. So red lettering and red spine, blue spine and white lettering, and red spine and white lettering. So that is the full Lisa's Story collection. King back there, and his case back there. And then this one is a nice little thing. So Stephen King, The Dark Man. So that's a poem with lots of gnarly illustrations that I will do a proper video for at some point soon. So next up, if we take these off to start with, this is my vintage covers section. So we've got a couple of UK ones here. So an old edition of The Stand, that's the unexpanded version, and a cool version of Christine. We've got the Batman books done to look like gladiators from the 90s, for those who remember that, and then some really cool old covers. So The Shining, a Night Shift with the peek through thing, and then Salem's Lot, and then we've got my favourite, The Dead Zone, got Firestarter, and a very cool Cujo. Now, considering I'm not a huge fan of this book, I do have 2 editions of Eyes of a Dragon, and this one, the scales, you can actually feel the scales on. There's also a black version as well. I love the cover. And then this very cool cover of Dance Macabre. Don't like the book, but I love the cover of The Talisman, Vintage Thinner, Vintage Skeleton Crew. We've got Misery. It's falling apart, but it has the bonus Sheldon / King. So these are all mainly Signet editions. So we've got Needful Things and Gerald's Game. And then a couple more random UK ones. So my original copy of The Dead Zone, The Dark Half, with a really cool Sparrows Are Flying Again on the inside. And then this nice pair of Desperation and Regulators, again from the UK, sort of pair of eyes. There you go, that's the vintage shelf. And then as my display items, I've got another Night Shift. Sorry, show you that one, another Night Shift. Gorgeous different seasons, still on the lookout for the other colours. Christine. Cemetery, absolute classic cover. And It. I should probably pull out the Dead Zone onto that shelf really. Whoops. But yeah, those are my vintage ones. So next shelf is my more modern King stuff. So let's start with the extras. We've got little Gage and Church Funko Pops and the alternative Joyland cover art. But then we've got the sort of 2000 onwards. So we've got an original, well not an original, but an older version of On Writing. Faithful, and I've not covered yet. I'll probably be removing this one from this shelf to make room for more of his novels. A couple of editions of The Colorado Kid, original and illustrated. A really nice Do McKee, picked up randomly in a charity shop over here. It's a US edition. I'm very pleased to find that. Under the Dome, Blockade Billy hardback with Stephen King as a baseball player on the back. And then ones you will have seen in all my videos recently. So Full Dark No Stars, 1122, and you probably don't need to see the rest. They're all the more recent editions. Right up to the paperback of Billy Summers, which I will get out, which I found in a charity shop recently. I was going to ask for it for Christmas, but I found it recently, so there we go. So next up is a mixture of sort of Dark Tower and other editions that I like. So let me bring this closer. So these Dark Tower books, this is the start of my next hunt. So you can see how the 4 of them all line up to make a picture. Those 4 are the easy 4 to find. The latter 4 are trickier. So if anyone can help, please do get in touch. If we take these out of the way, you'll see I've got quite a mishmash of Dark Tower stuff. So I've got this UK paperback and then a couple of US paperbacks that I found randomly. Yeah, enough said. Wizard and Glass that my toddler did tear the cover off, but I was able to take back on. And then these really cool UK paperback editions of the first three. And this version of the Gunslinger is pre it being revised as well. I love the covers on here. That's as far as they went in this series, which is a shame because I think that could have been a really nice series had they kept that artist for the whole thing. So let's get those back in. I file by chronological order, apart from there where it's went through the keyhole in its place in the story. Anyway, let's see if I can balance these while you're all watching. Yes, I can. Right, this is where those alternative artworks come from. So it's the box set of the hard case crime stuff. I wouldn't normally have gone out and spent this, but my sister-in-law gave me some vouchers for my local bookshop as a thank you for photographing her wedding, and well, it seemed rude not to. Stephen King bookmark. And then another one that you will have seen videos for already, or if not you can go and look now, my Halloween editions. And I've done a separate video going through all of the Halloween editions, so do go and check that out. So this bottom row is definitely a mixture. It's kind of other King editions and a couple of King adjacent stuff. So the King adjacent stuff got this book about the horror fiction of Stephen King, and another one which I haven't read yet, Conversations with Stephen King, so like a collection of his interviews. There's also a Stephen King quiz book. I'm in the process of finalising my own Stephen King quiz book, so do keep an eye on the channel for that. It's going to be a lot thicker than this, but this is a fun quiz book, but really fucking hard. Some ridiculous questions in there. Another piece of artwork from the box set. And then a few random things for you here. So here's something you won't have because I made it myself. So this is the plant, which you can download from King's website. I just used Kindle's self-publishing option to make myself a proof copy of the plant because I don't like reading off a screen for something that long. So yeah, there we go, a plant. Nobody else has got one of those. What else have we got here? Got the full set of the Green Mile, which I found in a charity shop, and a couple of just sort of standalone novellas that I like the covers of. So Sundog, Apt People, and then a UK Shawshank. We've got a Cycle of the Werewolf, which is first edition, and then we've got the Dark Tower Concordance, which I will cover at some point on this channel. Bev Vincent's Guide to the Dark Tower. Storm of the Century, which you may already have seen when I covered it. And then this is Secret Windows. So this was a companion piece to On Writing, and it's a load of essays and musings from King about the craft of writing. And then a couple of King adjacent things here. So we've got volume 1 of The Outsider magazine, which is focusing on LGBTQA plus representations of King and relationships to King, which is really well worth a read. And 6 Scary Stories, which King was the judge for. It's a UK short story competition. So King judged and wrote an introduction for this. The stories itself are not by King. But again, it was one that I spotted and couldn't really resist. So bear with me while I just pop these back in. There's one more cool thing to show you on this shelf. There like that. And that is The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon pop-up edition. I will do a proper video of this at some point, but again, this was a bit of a treat to myself. I'm just trying to keep it away from my children because I don't want them playing with that. Okay, so final shelf I'm going to split into 2 halves. So this is just kind of other stuff. So got Nightmares in the Sky, which is a book of photographs of gargoyles on buildings that King wrote an essay to go with. We've got the Creepshow comic book, his 3 most recent ones. So I should put this in the right order. So we've got Billy Summers' Final Task and Fairy Tale in hardback. I've got the paperback for that now, so I'll probably sell that. And then when I get the paperbacks for these, I will sell those. And then another one that I've not read yet. This is Hearts in Suspension. This is a collection of essays around King's time at university, and it was brought out as a companion piece to Hearts in Atlantis. This was produced by the University of Maine Press, and I ordered it from them directly and got a very nice note in the post with it, so that was quite fun, felt very King connected. And then we've got this one, which is Dark Visions. So this is one of those books where a couple of King stories are collected in here, along with George R.R. Martin and Dan Simmons. Now the King stories, we've got Sneakers, Dedication, and The Reploids, which is one that hasn't been collected anywhere else, and I've still not read it yet, actually. I must do that. And then just to round off this space, so I've got my little nod to Pennywise here, but move this. So this is my King adjacent corner. So we've got Gwendy's Magic Feather, obviously the second book in the Gwendy's trilogy by Richard Chismar, and then we've got stuff written by other members of King's family. So I'm not fortunate enough to own any Tabitha books yet. I'm keeping my eye out for them, but I've got Owen King's debut novel double feature, which is really good, and then a little Joe Hill collection here, so 20th Century Ghosts, which is short stories, and then Heart-Shaped Box, Horns, which are novels, Strange Weather, which is novellas, and Nosferatu. I thought I had The Fireman, but perhaps I got rid of that because I didn't really like it. There we go. And then I don't know if you'd be interested in seeing the rest of my bookshelf, but here's some other things I looked at. So up here is just some books I like, and that one has my story mirrored in. I'm going to cover this guy's name up because he's proved himself to be a bit of a twat, but the book does look interesting. And then down here we've got some Bradbury, Welcome to Night Vale, one of the best indie authors you can ever check out, Jack Harding. His book of short stories is fantastic, Dark Lines, you need to check that out. Obviously a bit of Crichton. Yeah, that one's pretty good. We've got some Goosebumps here, Catch-22, which I found recently in a charity shop and I haven't read yet. Some awesome editions of The Books of Blood with some crazy illustrations on, a bit of Poe, some other stuff I haven't read yet. And then down here, some more horror type things. So got my got my growing collection of Grady Hendrix, so Horror Store, Best Friends Exorcism, Sold Our Souls, some Guides to Vampire Slayers. These are here just because they're so tall, that's only where they fit. Jamie Stewart is another great indie author who you should definitely check out, particularly his book Montague's Carnival of Terror and Delights. I can't remember if I said that in the right order or not. I have that on my Kindle, but really, really good. Ian Reid is excellent. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is terrific. Foe is pretty good as well. That's a book I wrote. And then this is my Keelan Patrick Burt collection, another terrific indie author for you to check out. And lastly, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark box set. And that is my bookshelf. So there we go. A tour of my bookshelf and my King collection. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Let me know which of the things I've got here are your favorites. And if you can help me out with any more of these Dark Tower books, do let me know. I'd be very pleased to hear from you. If you enjoyed that and you want to discover me talking more about King, then click around the rest of my channel. Click subscribe if you really like it. And when we're talking subscribe, if you subscribe to my newsletter, you can get a free e-copy of my collection, mirrored, plus 10 Tiny Tales of Terror. You can get that for free just for signing up for the newsletter. And the newsletter will be full of indie horror authors for you to check out, short stories from me, and loads of other stuff as well. But hope you enjoyed that little deviation into my bookshelf. I know a few of you have been asking for a bookshelf tour for a while. Do check out my previous videos on the Rainbow series and the Halloween series. And if there's any things on here in particular you'd like deeper dives into, then let me know in the comments. I'm going to do something on the Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon pop-up book, but always happy to dip into any other areas of my collection and give you a bit of a flick through. Just let me know. But until then, thanks for sticking around, and I will see you next time. Here's my lovely shelves.